Welcome back to Worship in the Trenches. I'm Josh Sahulik, and today I want to tell you about a road that started getting used even before it was finished. Winter 1942. Thousands of soldiers and engineers are cutting a highway through 1,500 miles of Canadian wilderness and Alaskan tundra. It's called the Alaska Highway, and here's what makes it remarkable. Two crews are working simultaneously from opposite ends, racing to meet in the middle. They're blasting through mountains, bridging rivers, fighting mud and permafrost. But here's what captures my imagination. Vehicles began using sections of the road even while construction crews were still working ahead of them. Travelers were driving on completed portions while hearing dynamite echo in the distance from crews still blasting through mountains. You're on a completed road heading towards something that's still taking shape. And that's the image I want you to hold on to today, because that's exactly where we live as Christians. We're walking on a road that's already been built, already been completed by Christ, while traveling toward a destination that's still coming into full view. We hear echoes of work still being done. We're on the journey, but we're not yet home. If you're in the trenches of life and ministry, you know this tension intimately. You're living between the promise and the fulfillment. Between is inauguration and consummation. Between already and not yet. And maybe you're a pastor trying to help your congregation understand why they should keep walking faithfully when the destination feels so distant. Or you're a volunteer serving week after week wondering if this steady faithfulness actually matters. Maybe you're in the pew trying to live as a Christian in a world that often feels hostile, like a wilderness, and you're asking yourself, is there actually a path through this, or am I just wandering? Isaiah has an answer for you. He calls it the way of holiness. And the remarkable thing about this highway is that it runs right through conditions where no road should exist. Through desert, through wilderness, through sometimes your Monday morning. And this week's reading gives us a map of this highway, showing us a God who conceives redemption, executes it in history, and invites us to walk that road that leads home. And along the way, we're going to discover something crucial. The way you walk this road is itself an act of worship. But before we can walk the highway, we need to know who built it. Listen how the psalmist describes the road builder. Happy is he that has the God of Jacob for his help, whose hope is in the Lord his God, which made heaven and earth, the sea and all that therein is, which keepeth truth forever. Now we start to see the scope. This is the God who made everything, heaven, earth, sea, everything in them. This matters because the highway we're talking about is cosmic in scale. When the psalm gets specific, and this is where it gets interesting for those of us trying to live out in the real world, listen to what this God does. The word says he executes judgment for the oppressed. He gives food to the hungry. He looses the prisoners, opens blind eyes, raises up those bowed down, loves the righteous, preserves the strangers, relieves orphans and widows, and turns upside down the way of the wicked. And look at the recipients of God's actions. The oppressed, the hungry, the prisoner, the blind, those bent low, strangers, orphans, widows. The margins matter to this God. And the psalm ends with a declaration. The Lord shall reign forever, even thy God, O Zion, unto all generations. Here's why this foundation matters. The God who builds highways through the wilderness is the same God who opens blind eyes and feeds the hungry. You see, the highway of holiness reflects the character of the God who made it, which means, and this is crucial for how we live Monday through Saturday, praising God and caring for the oppressed belong to the same journey. They're not two separate things. Walking the highway means both. Now, Isaiah speaks to exiles in Babylon, and he describes a road that doesn't exist yet, but he describes it in such detail that you can almost see it. He says a highway shall be there, and a way, and it shall be called the way of holiness. The redeemed shall walk there, and the ransomed of the Lord shall return, and come to Zion with songs and everlasting joy upon their heads. Notice who walks this highway: the redeemed and the ransomed. These terms assume rescue has already happened. You can't walk the road until someone builds it for you, and you can't be ransomed until somebody pays the price. But here's what makes Isaiah's vision so powerful. The highway runs through wilderness, and the wilderness itself transforms. Deserts bloom, waters break out in parched ground. And the same transformation the psalmist described, Isaiah sees them happening along the highway. The blind see, the deaf hear, the lame leap, and the mute sing. The way of holiness comes to us through conditions where no way should be. We don't carve our own path to God. He builds the road to us, right through our wilderness. Isaiah even promises that lions will vanish from this path. Even inexperienced travelers will find their way because God has made the road clear. And then Isaiah speaks words that should encourage anyone who feels weak or fearful. Strengthen your weak hands and confirm the feeble knees. Say to them that are of a fearful heart, Be strong, fear not, behold, your God will come with vengeance, even God with a recompense. He will come and save you. If you're feeling weak-handed and feeble need this week, Isaiah's talking to you. The highway exists for people who can't build their own roads. That's the point. And now we jump ahead several centuries to a young woman standing at the intersection of promise and fulfillment. Mary has just learned that she's carrying the Word made flesh in her womb, and she sings. Listen to her song. He has put down the mighty from their seats and exalted them of low degree. He hath filled the hungry with good things, and the rich he hath sent empty away. Do you hear it? Mary is singing Psalm 146 in a new key. The God who relieves the fatherless and the widow, who turns upside down the way of the wicked. Well, he's acting right now. Not just in theory, not just in future promises, now in her life and in her body. Mary recognizes that God's redemption includes justice, reversal, mercy, and material provisions. The highway Isaiah prophesied is beginning to open in her womb. But here's what I love about Mary's song, and this is crucial for those of us in the trenches. Mary worships before she sees the outcome. She sings while pregnant and unmarried in a culture that could stone her for this. And she praises while the road still lies ahead, trusting the character of the God who builds it. The highway of holiness requires singing before you see the destination. And that's what worship does. It declares truth about God and His promises even when you can't see how it's all going to work out. Mary didn't know about the stable or the cross or the empty tomb. She knew the character of the God who was keeping His promises, and she sang. Now fast forward about 30 years. John the Baptist is in prison, and he's having doubts. He sends his disciples to Jesus with a question that gets to the heart of everything. Are you the one who should come, or should we look for another? In other words, is the highway really opening, or are we still waiting? Jesus responds by pointing to what's happening. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. Jesus is quoting Isaiah directly. He's saying, look at what Isaiah described, and watch it happen in front of you. The highway of holiness has a face. The way is a person. And Jesus does what the road does. The Lord who opens blind eyes in Psalm 146, that's Jesus healing the blind. And the God who raises up those bowed down, that's Jesus among the villages of Galilee. The one who feeds the hungry, well, that's Jesus multiplying loaves and fishes. The child Mary carries now demonstrates that the highway is open for business. And then Jesus says something fascinating about John. Among them that are born of women, there hath not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. Why? Because John points to the highway, but those who follow Jesus actually walk on it. John stands at the threshold, but we live on the other side of the inauguration. This is your position right now. You're walking on a road that John could only point to, and that should change how you pray, how you worship, and how you live on Monday morning. And finally, James writes to believers scattered by persecution. They're on the highway, but the journey's hard, and he tells them, be patient. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waits for the precious fruit of the earth, and have long patience for it, until he receives the early and latter rain. Walking on the highway of holiness looks like patient endurance. We live in the span between the road's opening and the journey's completion. Just like that Alaska highway with travelers on completed sections while hearing dynamite in the distance. We're on the road heading towards something still being finished. James also warns against grumbling against one another. Now this matters because walking this highway together requires extending to fellow travelers that same mercy that God has extended to us. The farmer waits for what he knows will come, and we wait for the King who reigns forever. The completion of the highway, the arrival in Zion with songs and everlasting joy. So if you're planning worship or leading ministry, you're helping people walk this highway together. That's your calling. It's not to entertain, not just to inform, but to shape people who can walk faithfully between inauguration and consummation. And practically, this means your worship should cultivate patient endurance, not just emotional highs. It means connecting Sunday's praise to Monday's mercy because the highway runs through both. When you sing about God opening blind eyes, you're preparing people to actually care for those who can't see. And when you declare God's love for the stranger and the orphan, you're forming a community that acts accordingly. The character of the road builder should shape the character of those who walk on the road. So if you're the one with weak hands and feeble knees, the journey's hard, and you're not sure you can keep walking, Isaiah's talking to you. The highway exists for people who can't build their own roads. It's a feature. God builds the way through wilderness specifically for those who can't find it on their own. Your weakness doesn't disqualify you from the highway, it qualifies you. It's called the way of holiness because holiness is something you can't manufacture. It's where you walk when God clears the path. And if you're trying to live as a Christian among neighbors and coworkers who don't understand why you bother with this at all, here's your answer. You're walking a road that they can't see yet. But here's what they can see. Whether your walk matches the character of the road builder, whether you care about the oppressed or feed the hungry, you notice strangers, extend mercy, whether you sing before you see the outcome. It's Mary's song that gives us the pattern. She recognized God's faithfulness by looking at what He does. Exalt the lowly, fill the hungry, keep promises to His people. Your life should look like evidence that you're walking on the same highway. So the highway of holiness stretches from Psalm 146 through Isaiah, breaks out into Mary's song, becomes flesh in Jesus, and it extends through patient endurance until the coming of the Lord. So walk consciously this week. When you pray, remember you stand on a road God built. You didn't have to carve it yourself. When you see somebody hungry, remember the road runs through acts of mercy. It's not the detour, it's the path itself. When you face suffering, remember the prophets who walked this way before you and the Christ who pioneered it. Oh, and sing. Sing because Mary sang before she saw. Sing because you walk where Isaiah pointed and where Jesus walked. Sing because Mary's prophecy comes true every time you see the proud scattered and the lowly lifted. Sing because the God who opens blind eyes has opened yours. Sing because the Lord reigns forever. So until next week, may you walk consciously, sing courageously, and extend mercy generously because you're on the highway of holiness that's heading home. Thanks for joining me in the trenches. It's my privilege to stand shoulder to shoulder with you.